What if I were to tell you that everything you've ever learned about goal setting was completely wrong? I mean, you've been told to set SMART goals, SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. What if I said that's a bunch of baloney? I mean, you've been told to track your goals and put them down in days and weeks and months, and that's a bunch of bunk too. It dawned on me while in the process of creating my vision and dream for 2021 that modern goal setting actually creates the opposite of what it was intended to create. Now, I think the people that teach this stuff really do have a good heart and they want you to accomplish great things. It's just that in my experience, in my life, the traditional approach to goal setting was designed so that at the end, you're frustrated. And you're frustrated because you're starting in the wrong place. On today's show, I'm going to walk you through 5 steps, or at least the first part of 5 steps. I actually think I have too much for the show today, so we may go into a part 2, but I'm going to talk you through 5 steps to setting massively awesome and big goals and accomplishing them every time. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name's Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place in the planet. For insanely implementable ideas, we're here Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. Today, we're going to talk about how to set massively huge goals and accomplish them every time. I'm calling today the totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. I've got 7 different titles that I had for today's show. But before I do that, I want you to do one thing. If you're on YouTube, I want you to jump in on the right-hand side. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do. If you are on Facebook, go right below right now. Say hello in chat. Everyone who says hello, I will put you right here, front and center on the screen. I just want to say hello to some of our friends. Barry, who was here at like 9:15 this morning, by the way. I jump on normally to set my cameras up and get my notes all ready to go. Barry's always saying hello. So what's up, brother? Good to see you as well. Hello, Wendell Bugs from Texas. What's up, Dr. Wendy Lee from Portlandia? By the way, I normally every few months go on a couple-day little prayer retreat. And I was actually thinking about going up to Portland. The problem is that means I have to get on an airplane. I'm not interested in doing that right now. So, hello, Linda. Good to see you as well. The Chiefs. I'm wondering, who are the Chiefs? It must be some sort of sports team of some nature. I'm not sure who they are. All right. So, hello, Diana. Yes. So the wind was wild here in California, and apparently even wilder up in Thousand Oaks. So crazy day yesterday. I don't know what was happening. Well, I know it was happening. But what's up, Ski? Good to see you as well. Hey, Robert. Hello, Alicia Doyle. By the way, let me just pause for a moment and say that the amazing Alicia Doyle is coming on next Tuesday. There you go. EdTalks Live, author of Fighting Chance, incredible award-winning journalist, and a great boxer. All right. And I've been taking my daughter to boxing. And she looked at me yesterday at dinner and she goes, "It is so cool to know how to punch." I'm like, yes, that's my girl right there. So what's up? Hey, Chris Gordon, good to see you as well. Hello, Anita Roll Tide. Ruth, what's going on? Great to see you as well. Thank you for that comment on your email. I had a blast writing that, by the way, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Hello, George Tolles. The godfather of personal development. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah. This guy right here, man, one of my favorite people on planet Earth. So welcome to the show. For those of you just joined us, my name's Ed. We're talking today about a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. And I want to kind of just start with the idea of what does it mean to accomplish great things? You know, I work with entrepreneurs. I work with people who want to do 3 things really well. In fact, over 460 entrepreneurs I've worked with one-on-one in my high-end one-on-one coaching program. And the first question I ask my entrepreneurs is, what do you want to accomplish? What are your goals? What are your dreams and visions? What do you want to do? And after cataloging over 460 individuals' answers to that question, I can tell you that every goal, every objective, every target falls into one of three categories. Category number one is income. My entrepreneurs truly do want to make more money. Now, most of them don't want to make money for the sake of making money. Most of them want to make money so that they can do something noble with it in the world. Which brings me to number two. The second category my entrepreneurs speak about is impact. So the first one is income. The second one is impact. They want to create something and they want to create change. Not many of us at this point are looking at the world in front of us with a big smile on our face saying everything is fine, because the fact is it's not. And it doesn't matter what political party you come from. I am, by the way, a member of neither one of those political parties. It doesn't matter what party you come from. You know as well as I do that getting someone just in the White House doesn't solve all the problems. We need to change completely as a culture. We need to change how we think. We need to change how we act, and that's impact. So if you have a product that helps people become more healthy, you have a product or a service or coaching that helps people plant beautiful organic gardens, Diana, if you have a product or a service that helps people make more money, that's impact. But the third one is also very important, which is lifestyle. And so when my entrepreneurs tell me their goals, a lot of times it comes down to things like, and I don't want to be checking my email at 2 o'clock in the morning, or I don't want to be working for my business. I want my business working for me, or I want to build my business around my life and not the other way around. Or I'd like to be able to travel, or I'd like to be able to take a vacation every 3 months for 2 weeks, or I'd like to be able to take a month off every single year. That's lifestyle. So you have income, impact, lifestyle. And if you've ever written goals, if you've ever rolled up your sleeves and said, you know what, this is the year that I'm going to accomplish something, you went through a typical goal setting process, which is to write your goals down, to develop a plan, and then start marching forward like a good soldier to accomplish those goals. But if you're like 99% of people who wrote those goals down, something happened in the process. And it wasn't pretty. And during that time, you started with hope. In fact, recently, I started calling it Hopium, because it acts initially like a drug. At first, when the goal is on your paper, you feel elated. Like a illegal drug, it feels great for a little while, and then your goal meets the reality of the world that you live in. You realize that it's going to take longer or maybe never to accomplish what's on that page, and discouragement begins to set in. Discouragement quickly leads to apathy, and if you're like a traditional entrepreneur, you go back to the page, build Hopium again, and do the same thing over and over and over again. And it dawned on me as I was putting on paper my dreams for 2021 and beyond that there must be a better way to approach goal setting. There has to be a better way to accomplish big things. And then it hit me. Traditional goal setting always starts at the wrong place. And if you're starting at literally square four, which is where traditional goal setting starts, I'm going to show you 5 steps. And when you get to step 4, you're going to see a wildly different step 4 that normally is for most people in goal setting, step 1. It's starting at the wrong place. And if you start at the wrong place, it's a 100% guarantee you're going to end up in the wrong destination. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up on the board, and we're going to talk today. And by the way, I have more planned on today's show than I have time to do it. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about the 5 typical steps or the 5 new steps towards approaching goals. And by the way, if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is what I'm calling a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. I'm going to jump in and say hello in chat real quick, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling. Hey, what's up, John? Good to see you, buddy. The man who designed 21-Day Miracle right there, baby. Hopium, yeah. Hopium. And by the way, it feels great sometimes, doesn't it? Like you go to an event and you feel so good, but then nothing happens afterwards. And I'm going to show you how to fix all that in just a moment. Okay, so let's start with traditional goal setting. And I'm going to show you why this doesn't work. And as I explain this, the light bulb should come on and you should start to feel better, okay, about why some things haven't happened for you the way that they have. So let's talk about traditional or modern goal setting. The traditional or modern goal setting starts like this. Set a goal. Create something that you want to achieve that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's what you've heard as SMART or SMART goals, okay? So this is the process of failed traditional modern goal setting. Now, when you create a goal, what happens inside of the processing space of your mind is where the failure actually begins. Because what happens is you take that objective, you take the thing that you want so badly, and you focus on that thing. The law of attraction, or as I like to call it, the so-called law of attraction, or potentially the theory of attraction, takes this even further. The theory of attraction states that if you focus on something long enough, that thing is bound to appear. And many proponents and followers of the law of attraction have realized after years and years of focusing on that mansion, of focusing on that money, it didn't appear and they moved on to something else. Crystals, spiritual healing, going to a church someplace, okay, and trying something else because that simply didn't work. And the reason it didn't work isn't because the idea of wanting something amazing in your life isn't wonderful and valid. The reason it didn't work is because you're starting at the wrong place. Let me explain why. Because you're fundamentally starting with something that you don't have. And if that's the starting point of your mindset, then what you're going to do is you're going to train your mind to not have things. Let me explain. Let's say your goal this year is to create a certain income in your business. What you do then is you focus in on the income that you want. Let's say last year you made $150,000 and this year you're going to make $350,000. And so you say, I want 350, I have 150, I want 350, I have 150, I want 350. And what happens is your mind focuses on the distance in between those two goals. When you do that, you actually are training your mind to focus in on the thing that you don't have. And because of that, there's no fuel. Because you need fuel to get you where you're going. So if you ever woke up in the morning, I got $150,000, I'm gonna make a 350, I want 150, but I'm gonna make 350. If you ever woke up in the morning, you're like, oh, and you have that feeling where you're just, oh, you know that feeling you're talking, I've experienced before. You're like, oh, not another day. I call this like the Eeyore day, right? You ever seen Winnie the Pooh? Eeyore's like, everything's bad, everything's ruined, my life is horrible. An Eeyore day starts because you're focusing on something that you didn't have. So let's talk about how to actually begin creating and setting goals. And by the way, there are 5 steps I'm going to outline. I was going to do all 5 today. It doesn't look like I'm going to be doing that time-wise today, but there are actually 5 steps. And the 4th of the 5 steps now begins to get closer to traditional goal setting, but not even close, okay? So step number 1 in what I call goal fuel, okay? Or a totally Top Gun approach to accomplishing great things. And by the way, for those of you who just joined us, let me switch my pen here because this guy is running out of ink. Okay, for those of you who just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. We're 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern every Tuesday and Thursday. Got some awesome shows planned for you next week, including meeting up with Alicia Doyle. This is going to be awesome, okay? So what we're going to do is move into the 5 steps of what I call goal fuel. This is how to create and accomplish great things. And in certain cases, things that you literally would not have been able to accomplish without this process, okay? So let's start with number 1. You'll notice, by the way, on the screen, at the top of the screen, it says, it doesn't even say goal setting, it says goal accomplishing. Because remember that the purpose isn't even to set the goals. The purpose is to actually do something with the goals, or actually to make that happen for you, okay? So, step number 1 in goal accomplishing is to start with what you have. Remember I said that one of the biggest errors that people make when it comes to goal setting is they focus their mind on the thing that they don't have. And when you focus your mind on the things you don't have, what you create is discontentment. When you create discontentment, you take away your energy stores, okay? If you just simply study, for example, the work of David Hawkins in Power versus Force, what he describes is an increase in strength and energy as you move up into higher emotional states like courage or power or love or empathy, but a decrease in energy as you move into lower energy states like lack, like fear, or even anger. So if you can move this up, the chance of you accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish are a lot better. So the first step to accomplishing great things is not to look at the thing that you don't have, which essentially is your goal, but it's to look at the thing that you do have. In a single word, it's gratitude. Now, much like you've experienced with me before, I'm not going to write gratitude on the board and not show you how to do it. Okay, so let me give you a very, very practical example of what this looks like. You start with something you have. Now, most people, when you ask gratitude, most people will go to the big things in your life. You know, your spouse, your Corvette, your Range Rover, your health. Okay, people start at these big things, but it's been my experience in this goal field process that sometimes it's fun to just do it with the really small things. Okay, so I'm going to just do this impromptu in front of you and just kind of show you how I would do something like this. So, for example, right here below me is this desk. I've got 4 of these desks, by the way. These desks that I'm looking at right here, this thing expands into a much bigger desk because I have this little conference room over on the other side of my office. But what I did is I took this desk, I actually put it up on cinder blocks, so my computer's here, my notes are sitting right here. I've got my fighter pilot mug with my coffee inside of it. I've got a full thing right here. This is moonshine. Everybody asks if that moonshine is. This is water. Okay, I've got this whole desk set up, and you know what? I've had this desk for 12 years now, and a whole bunch of chairs that actually go right along with this desk. This desk has seen a lot of things. I mean, I got this desk when my daughter, who's almost 16, she was 3. I got this desk when my second kid was 1. My third kid hadn't even been born yet, and my fourth certainly hadn't been born yet because she was born 2 years ago. This desk has seen a lot of things, but you know what? It's always stood here like it just always stood here and held everything up. And the legs, even though the legs are a little kind of bent now because they've been used for a while, and I'm really thankful for this desk. It's kind of cool that you could just order something like this. Someone just made it someplace in some factory somewhere. And then this desk, this just showed up. It's really great. And I've been using it for a while, and I'm really thankful for this desk. So now, let me tell you what you're after right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not really all that thankful, and 10 being sort of blown away by emotion and just starting to get teary-eyed because of what you just received. Smiling is about a 7. Laughing is about a 9. So your goal is to find something very normal that's sitting right in front of you and to be so grateful for it that you start to smile. And I'm here to tell you that you will, okay? When you do it, especially when it's something really small, you actually get this really big grin on your face, and sometimes you're like, like you start laughing because it's so ridiculous and fun that you saw something that was sitting there the entire time, and then you decided to be thankful for it. Let me do one more. Then I'm going to give you a chance to do this. See this mug here? So this mug has actually a Russian Air Force symbol on it. It also has my call sign. The call sign is HEAD, HEAD. So you get a mug when you show up to a new fighter pilot squadron. They actually give you a mug with the symbol of the squadron on it and your name below it. I've got some other ones that are actually up here. I should just pull these off the shelf and just show you. For example, when I was teaching at the weapons school, they gave me this nice big tankard mug. It says MOTS 1, that was my squadron. You can see the wings on the back of it. That's my call sign. And that's the kind of thing that they would give you. But my very last squadron, which was VMF AT 401 in Yuma, we were adversaries. So we flew these F5s like in Top Gun. We were the bad guy. We pretended to be the bad guy, and we flew against the fighters. So they gave me this mug. But then I took it and I was using it in business. And I was in a meeting one day and I dropped it and it broke into like 1,000 pieces. I was like, man, what a bummer. That mug. And it was like my favorite mug. It was nice and big. I like to put coffee in it, okay? So I had this thing, but it was broken. I was like, oh man, I can't believe my mug is broken. So about 5 years ago, I was doing a coaching session with Pam Hendrickson. If you don't know Pam, she's the creator of Make, Market, Launch. She was Tony Robbins' product creator for about 15 years, one of the most brilliant entrepreneurs I know, and I was helping her create and launch a product, okay? And I was sitting at a meeting with her, and Pam said, oh, Ed, I have something for you. And I opened up this box, and sitting inside of this box was this mug. She had actually went and found the website and the squadron that I had. I don't know how she figured it out. And she ordered a mug with my call sign on it and this squadron symbol. Now, that was really cool because I really liked that mug, and then I broke it, but I didn't know you could get another one because I had gotten it at the squadron, but she did all the research to try to find out where this mug was, and then she gave me this awesome mug. And here I am teaching this show right now with this really cool mug. And I'm really thankful for this mug. I mean, I've had this one for 5 years. I had the other one before that for about 8 years. And you know, it's got little chips and stuff on it, like little scratches and stuff. I mean, it's lived life in this place. Of course, I know where to replace this now. But man, I think about how much this mug has seen and what we've been through together, the ups and downs, and oh man, some long days and some longer nights. And that mug has been sitting there the whole time. And you know what? I'm really thankful for that mug. It really feels good to just have something with me that long. Now, I just did a desk and a mug. Do you know the kind of stuff I have in this office? There's a lot of stuff. There's books on the shelf. There's my helmet over here. This is the license plate from a Corvette that I used to have. I could do all this stuff. But you know what happens when you start to do this? You start to feel really good. You start to feel great, actually. You're like, man, what an abundant world I begin to live in. And your job is to take that feeling and to capture it into a nice little box, and you put it right here. When you put it right here, you're beginning the process of getting to your next goal. The reason this works so well is because you're starting with something you have. And now what you're doing is you're training your mind, you're training your heart to focus in on something you have, so that when we create the goal, which we're going to do in just a moment, when you create that goal, you're starting on an emotional foundation that has power. You're giving yourself fuel. Now, there's something I wrote in the email that I sent out. And by the way, if you're not on my email list, many of you are here because of the fact that you're on my email list. The website is below, edrush.com. Just go there, put your name and email in. I promise that I will be kind to your email, okay? I will send you good things. And I wrote in this email this morning that gratitude creates contentment. Remember I said that goal setting creates discontentment? Gratitude creates contentment, and contentment creates energy. Then energy, you know this as well as I do. There's potential energy and kinetic energy. So gratitude creates contentment, contentment creates energy. Energy turns your potential into success. Did you follow that? So when you start with something you have, you create the kind of swirling energy that's going to get you to the next thing that you want. And the way that you approach it is simply to say, well, I feel great about this mug, so let's feel great about something else. And then you create the goal to move on to the thing that you want to create. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a moment. I just did that first one. I'm going to give you a couple quick more tips, but I'm going to pause for a moment and just check in on chat. and say hello to you. And while I'm doing this, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause for a moment, and I want you to look around where you're at right now. You could be in the car, you could be working out, okay? You could be sitting at a desk watching me. You could have Facebook open on one side and your email open on the other side. You're doing half work and you're half listening to me. I just want you to pause for a moment, and I want you to be thankful for something. And it could be anything. And like I said, sometimes the smallest little thing, sometimes frankly the most ridiculous little thing. Like I was thinking while I was teaching about this pen. I got these pens at Top Gun. These aren't the original ones. The ones I got at Top Gun have worn out since then. But this is the best whiteboard marker I could ever think of, and I love this pen. So what I want you to do for a moment is I want you to pause and just be thankful for something, okay? And as you're doing this process, the first thing I want you to do is put it into chat, because I think we'll have some fun for this. Put into chat something that you're thankful for, and let's just see what comes up, okay? And I'm going to pause and just say hello at chat while you're doing that. But thank you, Diana. This is a really nice comment. Thank you for that. Pam Hendrickson is fantastic, Mariana. Good to see you as well. There's the free stuff, by the way. Delisa Tool, I'm thankful for you. I already said that already to you this morning. Quantum physics, I love it. Barry says, I'm grateful for the lessons and the wisdom. Hey, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for you too. Nabi says, Ed for president in 4 years. Dude, you are awesome. Thank you for that. All right, put into chat the things that you are I'm thankful for this. Look at this dirty cloth. I'm just saying, if you laugh, it works. You got yourself to a 9, okay? By the way, this thing used to be a kitchen cloth in my house. Then it just turned into a cleaning cloth. Then you know the cleaning cloths sometimes turn into like they're all messed up, so they kind of go to the bottom of the thing where you only clean up floor stains and that sort of thing. So I went up to the kitchen and I grabbed it and I turned it into my whiteboard eraser, because what I found is if you use this, it takes the whiteboard stuff off, but if you use just a regular eraser, it just sort of like pushes it around, right? I'm thankful for this magnetic eraser. You see how this works? All right, so type into chat right now on Facebook or over on YouTube the thing that you're thankful for. Do it now, okay? And I'm going to move into one more thing about gratitude. Then I'm going to go to step number 2, okay? And it looks like today we'll have time for maybe the first 2 or 3 steps. Have no fear. I'm going to be teaching this in much more detail over the next 2 or 3 weeks via email. I'm going to go deep on each of my weekly flight briefings on email, and I'll do a part 2 or 3 on this show. We're going to spend a little bit of time here because what I'm teaching right now is so important for you to accomplish what you want. And if you've ever felt like, gosh, you know, I know that I'm supposed to dream big things and think big things, but I haven't been able to do it, here's the secret as to why. Okay, and by the way, if you're like weekly flight brief, every week I send an email out. Usually I do a podcast too, and oftentimes I do a show around the theme. The website's below, edrush.com. If you don't like giving your email out, that's fine. Give it to me, because I promise I'll treat you well. Anybody on my email list knows I don't send out like, you know, multi-level marketing stuff. Okay, it's good content for you. All right, so so grateful for the Roomba. Ooh, I like that. Bob says, it's the little things. Thank you, Robert. Grateful for the wisdom you share and the encouragement. I like it. Oh, that's a good one. She's looking through them. New glasses with blue light blocker. I've got one of those that I use when I'm sitting in front of a computer. I like this. Grateful for my good writing pen. I love, isn't that cool? Just sometimes the most normal and mundane things. Oh, I like this one. I'm grateful for my life is good squeeze ball. By the way, you start training yourself to do this, you will see some of the strangest, like you'll like get in the car and be like, oh, what a thankful for this cup holder. You know, oh man, I'm thankful for my lacrosse stick. That game does make me smile. Oh man, Scott, you got it. He said he's thankful for his car seat heaters. By the way, in this car, in my Corvette, that I recently sold, sniff, I had heaters, but they also had the seats that put the air out. I always liked that because I didn't like the air conditioning blowing on me, but I did like it, you know, pushing back on my, after playing golf, you know, you're a little hot, you got the air conditioning coming on your butt. So I like that. That's good. Grateful for the original Total Gym. I love it, man. You guys did a good job with this. Thank you. Keep putting them in there. I love the comments. And it's fun to read everybody else's too, because sometimes it makes you think of things that you aren't. All right. So what we're doing right now, just so you know, is we're just training. We're just training, right? So Alicia, who's on the show right now. She's going to be my guest on Tuesday. For those of you just joined me, by the way, next Tuesday is How to Accomplish Anything with professional boxer Alicia Doyle. Okay, so I was telling her via email, I'm like, man, I've been taking boxing. My daughter's been taking boxing too, right? So when you first get into the gym, there was like one guy there who was like a professional boxer. You know, like the professional boxers, they take the jump rope and they're like, you know, and he had the shoes, like those professional boxing shoes. And I walked in, I'm like, oh man, I'm dead. Okay, so you come in, but then the coach, just this starting from scratch, he goes, all right, we work off a number system. And he literally started and he showed me, here's how you do this. Okay, here's how you jab. And then I got to watch him do it. This is about 3 weeks that I've been doing it. I got to watch him do it with my daughter yesterday. And I thought, isn't it interesting? I mean, he started with like how you stand. He started with just basic, like how you move your body, your hips. He started with where you put your hands. He did that with me too. Well, what we're doing right now when it comes to creating and executing and fulfilling great things in your life is we're doing nothing more than training right now. Okay, you're training your mind to accomplish great things in short period of time, and we're doing it based on how you start. Remember what I said, that traditional modern goal setting fails almost every time because the training process is training you to want things you don't have. Okay, so if your whole life you've been like, man, all I would want is this, but you haven't gotten it, that's because your mind has simply been trained to want things that you don't have. So if you've ever been to SeaWorld, or the zoo for that matter, like here in San Diego, we have both, okay? So when you go to SeaWorld, by the way, every time I talk about SeaWorld, I have to make this caveat. I have seen the movie Blackfish, okay? And I think it's great that they're, you know, like we should just let the fish stay in the sea, okay? That said, I have been to the Dolphin training area, and I have seen that Dolphin show like about 50 times because, you know, I have kids and I live in SeaWorld. And I don't know about the orcas. That's up to the scientists to discover. But man, those dolphins look happy. I mean, I don't know what life is like as a dolphin in captivity, but boy, do they look happy. Maybe that's just because of the fish. Okay. Now, when I go to the Dolphin show, there is this moment where they bring this huge like loop, okay, and they raise it up above the pool, and it's like 20 feet up above the pool. You're like, man, that loop is up there really high, and this dolphin, out of the water, like slow motion through the hoop and then back in the water. I'm like, man, that is amazing. Then what happens is they get these two dolphins, they swim together to the other side of the pool, and they come up out of the water, and then they walk across. You ever seen a dolphin do that? They walk across the water with their tail. And I know me doing that motion is a little strange, okay? I'm just pretending to be a dolphin right now, all right? And I was sitting there, and I'm like, this is pretty amazing. They got this dolphin to jump through a hoop, and then they had these two dolphins walk across the water, okay? And you know what's crazy about that? They don't normally do that. You know what I'm saying? Like out over in the Pacific Ocean, they're not jumping through hoops. They're not even walking across the water. That is a trained habit. Do you know how they get dolphins to walk across water and to jump through hoops? Fish. Have you ever seen them? Here's another fish. Here's another fish. If you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so long and thanks for all the fish, the dolphin said before they left planet Earth, before we were destroyed. Okay, so how do you get a dolphin to jump through a hoop? How do you get a dolphin to walk across water? Fish. Positive reinforcement. Taking a behavior and reinforcing it positively. You know the funny thing about being an entrepreneur? Most entrepreneurs spend their entire day negatively reinforcing themselves. Let me give you an example. Right now, you've probably got 200 things on your to-do list. There's probably maybe 20 things written down, but you know as well as I do, there's about 200 things that you need to do. And so at the end of the day, you have 20 things on your to-do list. You've done about 5 of them. At the end of the day, most entrepreneurs, when they look at their to-do list, look at the things they haven't done, not the things they have. Well, that's negative reinforcement, which we know from training animals does not work very well. It works to make angry animals. Okay, so but that's what entrepreneurs, that's what you do. You negatively reinforce yourself over and over and over again. When one of the first things I started to learn when I learned about positively reinforcing yourself is at the end of the day to look at the list of things that you wrote down and did and go, wow, good job, man. You did 5 things today. That's amazing. You had a great day. In fact, I started putting it, I should show you my sticky pads. I started just writing down, because I had a whole list of to-do things, but I would write down like 3 things, 3 big things. Part of my productivity training, by the way. I write down 3 big things, what I call big rocks. I put them on a yellow sticky note, and then when I was done, I would take the note and throw it away, because that feels good. Good job, man. You got all 3 done, and then the rest of the day was bonus. That's the way I looked at it. If I did 3 things, the rest of the day was bonus. Well, that's nothing more than training. That's nothing more than positive reinforcement. There's nothing more than giving yourself something excellent for accomplishing something excellent. So, one of the ways that you can exercise your gratitude muscle is to do that little exercise that I just gave you. Find something like a mouse. Anybody have one of these things? Wireless USB mouse? This thing works great, man. I move it over here. I move it over here. Remember when you used to have cables connected to everything? Or the mouse with these huge trackball things that were really difficult, but now you got this little thing you just touch. That technology is amazing. I'm very thankful for that. That's practice. You're just practicing little things like that. Just really little things like that. Okay? This note paper that I put my notes on, this is like 32-pound paper. It's extra thick. I love holding on to this stuff. It makes it so that it doesn't fall away when the fan's on and everything. I'm very thankful for that. One of the ways that you can do that is just to train it. The other way that I love to do it is just the mornings. My typical routine is the moment I wake up in the morning, I just try to be thankful for 3 things. It could be anything. Good night's sleep, my kids, my house, my family, my bed, right? The fact that the dog wasn't barking at the neighbor's dog or whatever. 3 things. And some of you have heard me say this. I knew this was working for me when I was dreaming before I woke up. And in my dream, I started to be thankful for, hey, thank you, God, for this great day. I said in my dream, I was saying that. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, wow, I actually did it already, but I did it in my dream. Okay? So for those of you who just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. We're talking about 5 things. I just covered 1. I'm going to do 1 more probably today. I know, dude. I know. So the truth is, so I actually sold it like last March, I think, or April. I wasn't driving it. I was like, we're at this point probably like a 1-car family because this is my office. If I got to go someplace, I just go drive. So I put like 8,000 miles on that car in about 2.5 years. I just realized that I wasn't. Anyway, it's fun while it lasted. For those of you who just joined me and you're like, what is he talking about? I had a 2018 Collector's Edition Corvette, which is awesome. And I don't know what's next for me. Probably like a pickup truck again. Okay, so anyway, we're talking about a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. I just talked about why goal setting fails and how to start with what you have. Okay, I'm going to go into the second one, and that's going to be it for today. I've got 5. I'll cover the next in a subsequent show. I'll write about it in the email next week, and then I'll talk about the other ones in a subsequent show. By the way, next week's huge. I got Alicia Doyle coming. We're talking about how to accomplish anything. And then on next Thursday, I have a show with James Donaldson, who's a former NBA basketball player turned entrepreneur. You're going to love hearing from James, okay? So the first principle was to start with what you have. This is training your brain, okay? Now, the reason why it's so important to train your brain is that your brain is perfectly and completely comfortable with the status quo. Part of the evolutionary process of human beings is finding comfort in almost every area and in any place. It is a design feature of our brains and bodies that has proven very, very important for our survival. Think of some of the worst conditions that you can think of. Think of, for example, the concentration camps in Nazi Germany in the 40s. Think of some of the worst weather that anyone could ever live in. Think of some of the worst relationships that people have abided in for far too long, potentially abusive relationships. The brain, because of a protection mechanism, tries to find equilibrium and comfort even in difficult situations. Your brain is hardwired to try to find the easiest way to accomplish something. You know this if you've ever, for example, tried a new fitness routine. In the beginning, you go to the gym and you try to do deadlifts and you're like, my goodness, this is really, really hard. But then eventually you start to find little shortcuts. You start to find little areas in the lift itself that you can rest your muscles so that you can accomplish more and not feel as strained. Your brain and your body were created to find the path of least resistance. Now, when it comes to difficult situations, like, for example, being in some sort of internment camp, that's a good thing that your brain begins to find equilibrium for you, because otherwise, frankly, you would die. In the fitness environment, maybe you should keep pushing yourself, okay? But the problem with the way that your brain begins to find equilibrium and status quo is that you can flat out get stuck, okay? And so what your brain is creating for you in your life and business, in your financial situation, in your relationships, in your health, is a pendulum swing that finds itself almost always back to the middle. The other way that you can think about this is for example, if you've made, let's say you've made $80,000 a year for the last 5 years. Well, much like a thermostat, your brain operates off of setting you into a place that you're very comfortable with, okay? So if you're setting a thermostat, like in your house, to 72, when it gets higher than 72, it's going to kick on the air conditioner and cool it down. When it gets lower than 72, it's going to kick on the heat and bring it up. The thermostat in your house is designed to create a status quo, to create an equilibrium, much like your brain creates. So if you've been making $80,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $80,000 a year, your brain automatically creates a status quo to that. You're used to eating in certain places and driving certain places and having to look at the budget, and you're used to a little bit of lack, and that's the way your brain is. And that might not be best for you. It may not even be in your highest purpose and your highest interest. And for years and years and years, you've put on your list, I want to make $300,000 this year. 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 But your brain's perfectly happy with creating happiness inside of the status quo. And because of that, you're going to need to train your brain out of the current set of thinking, okay? Now, on a previous show, I did an entire discussion on the myth of independent thinking. So people will say, well, I'm just like an independent thinker. But I will tell you that even the most independent thinker, you will hear almost near verbatim regurgitated content from them about the world that they live in. So for example, one of my friends just recently sent me an email that his dad had sent him. And in the email was basically like it was a Facebook post that the person had posted that simply just said all of the awful things about essentially about right-wing extremism is essentially where he goes. Now, if you were to take the words in that email, you could have heard word for word those exact sentences regurgitated on the nightly news. That's not independent thinking. I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm not saying he was right. I'm saying it's not independent. And true independent thinking is actually theoretically impossible. We live in a world where you grew up in a certain place in a certain time, and thinking the way that we think is the way that we think. We're even using a common language. Sometimes that's even hard enough to break out of, okay? But what you can do is you can start to create change in the way that you think towards the direction that you want to. So let's say you have an $80,000 setting inside of your brain, and you want to move to a $300,000 setting inside of your brain. One of the first ways to do that is a principle that I call purposeful intake. Okay? Purposeful intake. Now, late Jim Rohn once said that you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I thought that was interesting. When I heard that, I thought it's probably time for me to get some new friends. And what somebody encouraged me to do was to look at my friends Look at the people that I spend the most amount of time with. Look at how much money they're making. I know that sounds like a super, that sounds like an evil thing to do, but just look for a moment at the kind of revenue that they bring in. And what I found was that the people that I was spending most of my time with were in the maybe the 80 to about 120K crowd. They were doing okay, but not great. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I think maybe I need to get some new friends, okay? And then I realized most of those people were hanging out because I made good beer at the time. And so what I did is I started branching out and reaching out to people who were accomplishing the kind of things that I wanted to accomplish, which for me was moving into the 7-figure range. And I spent about 80% of my time with people who are already at 7 figures. And about a year and a half later, I hit my first 7-figure year, which was back in 2009, and it was $1.2 million. Now, what I just described sounds far more formulaic than it actually is in real life, but part of that had to do with purposeful intake. I was simply resetting the way that I think for a new wealth setting or a new money setting, okay? Now, there are some challenges with being able to do that as fast as I was able to do that, but I will just simply tell you that this is one of the most important things that you'll do. And I will just ask you a question, which is this. After watching one of these shows, do you feel better? Most of the people I talk to have told me that one of the most positive things they experienced over the last 12 months has been coming and watching this show. Well, there's a reason for that. You see, on this particular show, we are energetically moving at a very high level, okay? So you can't listen to the things that I'm teaching and not feel a sense of motivation and maybe even a sense of hope that you didn't have before you came onto the show. That is the result of purposeful intake. Did you catch that? There's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're watching right now. It's because you're getting something. And even if it wasn't the tools that I'm teaching right now, what you are getting is some of that energetic approach that I'm bringing that is quite different than the news right now, okay? Or than the world right now. For real, like if you went to the hair salon or the barbershop right now, you know what they would be talking about, right? You know exactly what they would be talking about. And it doesn't matter one side or the other. Like if I go talk to the guys who are the big Trump people, oh my gosh, the election, he got robbed. And then I talk to the other people who are like, we're going to finally get unity once we get rid of all these right-wingers. And you're like, wait, I don't want to talk to either one of those crowds, man. I want to move forward and create something even better. And if you're here and you're experiencing a little bit different approach and a little bit of hope, frankly, that's because of purposeful intake, okay? Now, purposeful intake comes in 4 categories, and I've got some board left, so I'm just gonna do it, okay? Purposeful intake is people, audio, video, okay, and reading. It's what you read, it's what you watch, it's what you listen to, and it's the people that you hang around with. So for example, right now, my family, we are essentially binge watching, if you will, Downton Abbey, okay? Now, my wife watched all the episodes like 5 years ago, whenever it came out, but I said, yeah, we should watch that sometime, and she's like, okay, let's do it now. So now my whole family, we just finished season 2, so I don't want you to tell me what happened with Mr. Bates. Right now, he's still in jail, okay? But we are watching this, and I will tell you that I've had, last couple nights, I've had dreams where the Grantham family has made their way somehow into my dream. Last night, I was hanging out with Lady Mary and Matthew, in my dream. I'm like, wait a second. Typical dream, like I'm playing a baseball game. Next thing you know, Lady Mary and Matthew are there, and now people are watching me thinking, Ed has lost his mind. If you've never watched Downton Abbey, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but you have, you're like, yeah, I got you there on that one, okay? So that's what you're watching. Sometimes it's what you listen to. So for example, in the morning, I will often put on music right here on my iPhone that goes right over to a speaker that's like, that gets you up, okay? Like this morning I was listening to Kirk Franklin. I don't know if you listen to Kirk Franklin, but it's hard to listen to Kirk Franklin and not have a positive attitude towards the day, okay? There is some music that comes on where I'm like, oh man, I don't even want to listen to that. Like you can actually feel it taking you down. There are certain times when I'm writing where I'm listening to a specific kind of classical music. There are certain podcasts that when I get done listening to them, I don't feel very good. Most of them have to do with news and current events. There's some podcasts that I get done listening and I'm like, I think the impossible just became possible for me. And then there's people, right? There's some people that give you life. There's some people that take life away from you. There are some people who are achieving the things that you want to achieve, and there's some people who aren't. One of the reasons, by the way, that I always recommend that people get into mastermind groups is because you need to spend time with people who are going in the direction that you want to go, and in certain cases have accomplished that. So a lot of times what will happen when I get a new member into my mastermind is they'll come up to me and they'll say, Ed, I don't feel like I belong. And I'm like, great. This is great, right? Because you don't feel like you belong at first, but you know what? By the second meeting, you're moving into the category. Next thing you know, you're accomplishing the things that the people in the group are accomplishing, and you're helping and participating inside of the group. That's why you do that sort of thing. And by the way, I don't know if this is on here. We have a mastermind meeting coming up in February. If you're interested at all in getting in you get some one-on-one coaching with me too, at least a full one-day coaching. If you're interested at all, it's edrush.com/coaching. I don't have the link for this for some reason. I just thought of it. But go to edrush.com/coaching. There's an application process which gets you an assessment call with me. There's no obligation to move forward. If we decide it's right for you, great. If we decide it's not right for you, that's fine too. But if you're interested in actually working with the kind of people who are going in the direction you're going, I will tell you personally, one of the biggest moves that I made, remember I said I started hanging around with people who are where I was? That was me stepping into a mastermind, actually, and stepping into coaching. I started coaching with a speaker who was making about $2 million a year. And within about a year and a half, I had moved into 7 figures because I started working with people like that. Okay? So it's people, audio, video, and reading. Now, the next step to this is actually, we're still in step 2, okay? So the next step to training your brain, I talked about independent thinking, purposeful intake, is how to meditate. And I'm going to go into more detail on that on the next show. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I'm going to jump into chat real quickly. But first, I'm just going to do a quick replay of where we were and what we talked about. I'm going to answer any questions you have, and then we're going to move the rest. We got about, remember I said I have 5 things. We got 1.5 done. So I just figured you would want me to teach it for real, then bounce across the top of the iceberg and what you got. So for those of you who just joined us, by the way, we're talking about a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. My fundamental premise is that the traditional modern way of approaching goal setting is fundamentally flawed and designed to leave you discontented, frustrated, and apathetic. And the reason for that is because you spend all of your time focusing on something that you don't have instead of something that you do, which is why step 1 of the goal accomplishing process is to start with what you have. You start by thinking of some of the most basic and mundane things, and you're thankful for them long enough until you smile. Man, I'm really thankful for this pen. And if you laugh, it's even better, okay? If you get moved emotionally, you can change the world with that emotion, okay? Then what you do is you move into training your brain. And I started today by talking about how you do it, how you break out of the status quo. Your brain is designed to settle on things that may or may not be good for you. How to create independent thinking, how to do purposeful intake. And the next step, we're going to go into meditation. And then step 3, which... I won't even tease you on it. Step 3 has to do with connecting to purpose and prayer, believe it or not. Okay, and I'm going to show you how you can actually change the electronic chemical structure of your brain. You can literally change the chemical and electronic structure of your brain with one small thing. And I'm going to get to that next week and the week after. So we're going to be on this journey for a little while. But when we get done, we're going to have had a lot of fun, and you're going to be on to accomplishing absolutely amazing things. So let me do this really quickly. I'm going to jump into chat. Yep, I know. Actually, I'm building, Diane, I'm building a composter. I'm building a new composting area. I've been following Charles Dowding online, and I'm building one for my wife. All right, so yes. I was in a mastermind. I don't know why I just decided to take ice in my mouth in the middle of my show. See, just be around people who be where you want to be. If you want to chew ice, follow Ed. Okay, I was in a mastermind with Mike Koenigs, Darren Hardy, John Assaraf, Brian Tracy's lead marketing guy, some really powerful people. I always try to find my way. Like right now, I'm trying to move a group of people who are trying to move the world politically, trying to put that kind of group together. So there's a reason why I choose to spend time with these people. First of all, you feel a lot more like you can do this, but when you're around people like that, your energy moves. If you are making $1 million a year and you want to get to 10, your energy moves to 10 million. Plus, those people have resources. Okay, so if you want to go to $1 million, the people who are making $1 million have the kind of resources that you can connect to, team members and outsource people. Like there's cross promotions that happen. So that's another a thing that would help too. So, and the interesting thing is, I don't read. I've only read one of Darren's books, and I don't watch his stuff. But anyway, I'll take that as a compliment. All right. So, thank you for the link. By the way, if you are interested potentially in doing coaching with me, it's not cheap. But again, the application process, it's just a deposit, and you get a call with me. We would actually do the call probably in the next week. And the call is an assessment. Together, we talk about your business and see if you're a right fit. And if you're like, you know what, I need to step up, and this is the year to step up. The way that I build my programs is you get to mastermind with great people, but you also get one-on-one coaching with me, which is both of those are very powerful. All right, so thank you for that. I'll get the next three. So what I'm teaching right now, Anita says, which one of your courses has most of this information? What I'm teaching right now is new. It's not in any one of my courses. The one that I always recommend starting with, Anita, if you're on the fence, there is I bundled two programs together. I have a program called Secret Weapon, which is my communication persuasion program, and my 21-day time freedom program. And I bundle those together as two for the price of one. And the website for that is edrush.com/bundle, BUNDLE. And Lisa will put that link in the chat there as well. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you, pal. Thanks, Bob. You're awesome. Hello, Marie Carmen. You're going to see more about this. I'm gonna be talking more about this as we go. You're the best. So, oh gosh, thank you. For some reason, I have to dialogue with myself. Y'all have read 21 Day Miracle, right? So in the footnotes in 21 Day Miracle, it basically, the footnotes are kind of like me making fun of me. I always call the footnotes my sarcastic twin brother. I don't have a twin brother. My imaginary sarcastic twin brother making sarcastic comments at me while I'm writing a book, because I kind of like to just joke about myself. And so yeah, when I make fun of myself on my show, you're not really supposed to do that as a part of a show, but I always think it's funny, and then it turns out to be good book content. So if I write my 6th book here sometime soon, oh, thanks, Ski. He said, do the dolphin imitation. Some of you see me do this on stage. I don't know why I think that's so funny. Actually, I was at SeaWorld once. I got there early with my daughter, who was like 5, and they said, hey, do you want to volunteer to be in the show? I'm like, was that like a trick question? Of course I want to be in the show. So they actually brought me up. This woman sat next to me who was basically pretending to be my wife, and she was taking a picture, and she fell in, and the dolphin picked her up, and it was actually one of the trainers. But my daughter and I got to sit there and be a part of the show, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, so that is it for today. So quick review. Today we talked about a totally Top Gun approach to setting goals. We're on to, this is going to end up being part 1, and I'll get into the next one. We start with what you have, then train your brain. The next 3 segments, Linda, have to do with meditation, changing the chemical structure of your brain through prayer, setting absolutely massively, gigantically big goals, creating goals that are outside of your, we'll get there. Some of this stuff is totally new, and you've been with me for a while, and it's totally new. All right, that's it for today. I will see you next Tuesday. Don't forget, Alicia Doyle's coming in, how to accomplish big things on Tuesday. We're going to have a rocking and rolling time, and EdTalks Live is out.